Good afternoon. This is Field Senior Trainer and International Master Chess Coach Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State Chess Session to this intermediate training session. So we'll have some thematic endgames and combination followed by our main topic, Science of Winning Chess. So in this position, I would like to tell you that what is this?
Download this app today.
First, I would like to show you that a lone queen can push the opponent king to a corner, because this will come in several endgames also. I am going to show some endgame on this topic. For example, now if it is white to play, white can play queen to g1. Black suppose goes, I will push, and if he comes to e3, now queen. Now if he comes to e3, queen to f1. If he comes like this, just a check, and now again I keep pushing the queen, check. Now this is bad, because then in this case he is quickly pushed to a corner, and now I cut off, check, and gradually we push the queen to a corner. Suppose you go queen, again queen. Now we can see that lone queen has the power to push the opponent king to a corner. How this will be applicable in a different position, I will show you. Okay, now I would like to show you that another position. Hello Sanju. Now let us say sometime we reach a position, and in that position we have one side has a rook and bishop and two pawns. Let us say rook, bishop and two pawns. Or other side has just a rook or knight and rook or bishop. So without pawns. So the weaker side will sacrifice his bishop and knight for opponent's two pawns. And in that case, we will reach an endgame. One side has a rook and bishop, the other side has only a rook. Now such endings, the knowledge is very important because it can come very often. Let us say the king is here and here, rook is here and the bishop over here and rook here, like that. I can change the king position like hello Kamakshi Vastu. Now this position, white to play can win easily, or it can be other side also, it doesn't matter. See, the theme is same, rook check, forced. Now rook. Now the rook must go all the way. It is bad to go to the third rank. White will force this rook to the third rank. Then only he can win the game. For example, let us say goes here. You should wait, hoping the rook come to third rank. Why third rank is essential? Because the bishop controls these two squares. That makes the defensive resources of black very poor. So he will not go to third rank. He will stay there only. Now he will not go to third rank. Now what we should do? Go to the other side. There is a mate threat. The king cannot go here. Then rook will come and win easily. So rook will try to cover up. Now we will force the rook to go to the third rank by playing bishop to b3. Now look here. The rook has no square. All this is guarded, and this is bad because this is the only square. For example, if you will go, just this rook shift is winning. So he cannot go to the last rank, the only square. Of course, he has a choice to go to king c8. That king c8 is not good. For example, if he goes to king c8, now bb3 and rook c8. This is bad. bb3, king c8, main line. Cancel. I should promote the main line. Promote. After king c8, you should just wait. So he will repeat moves, and now we give a threat. The point is, if he comes to king, then bishop check wins, and then checkmate. If he comes here, it will lead to checkmate. Or alternately, he can bring rook here. Alternately, rook here. This also will lose. For example, now we can play bishop. The threat is made. The rook check is obligatory. Rook check is obligatory. Now bishop. Again he has to come here. Now here what we can do, maybe here what I should do here. Just bishop. Zugzwang. Now king cannot move because bishop check and then mate. And now king cannot go to other side also. It is direct checkmate. It is direct checkmate. So when you go rook f4, he has to play, and that means, and at this point when we play here, king c8 is not possible. I mean, when you play bishop to b3, then king c8 is a bad move. It is a bad move. Okay. Now that means you are supposed to play rook to only move. This is the only move. Other moves are bad. Now when you play bishop, now the rook is the third rank. Now he has come to the third rank. So this makes our job very easy now. For example, we play bishop. Idea made, the only move is check. We play bishop. Then the only move is rook. So here we will wait with rook on the b4. Now king cannot go here because bishop check and then there is a mate. And king cannot go here also because direct mate. So the king gets touched. That means he has to wait now. No. Here, this is where many people go wrong. Instead of rook b4, you should go now here. Rook here, bishop, rook check, bishop, rook. Now you should give a check. This is a very important maneuver. Disrupting the defensive resources of black. This is very important. For example, suppose you come to this side. Now the bishop is controlling this square. The rook cannot come to this point. And now this is a mate. This is the point of dragging the rook to the third rank. Now the bishop is watching this square. If bishop was not watching, rook would have come. Imagine the rook is on first rank. He can come. So he cannot come. Rook check. He cannot come here. Rook is winning. That means you have to go here. Only move. When you give a rook check, this is the only move. Now we give a mate threat. You only move. Rook check. Again only move. You cannot go to run to a discover attack. You cannot come discover attack. Only move. This is the point to go rook b4. Idea, now a rook check and mate. Now what is he going to do? He will come king, but then bishop. He runs into a zugzwang. Bishop, king here, bishop check, and then mate. Or king to here, also direct mate. So this is a maneuver. I hope you understand this. I hope, again, you can ask me question also on this point. Now here, rook f8 check. Only move. Now only move. He can go directly also. That makes it much more faster. He can go directly instead of here. This will be faster. I will force him. Now, no. And rook check here. I will force him to first rank. Our point, I have to drag the rook to the third rank. We need to drag this rook to the third rank of white. Rook forced. Now the rook has to go only square c3. Otherwise he is getting mated. Rook c8, rook h7 is winning. Rook c8, rook h7 or rook g7 winning. So only move rook c3. Only move rook c3. Here the king c8 loses. As I told you, the king c8 loses to rook b4. The threat is rook check. Now if you come here, now there is no check. Bishop is guarding the square, so I can threaten a mate. And here there is check and forcing a mate. That means here the king c8 is bad. On this point, rook c8 is losing, king c8 is losing. The only move is rook c3. The only move. In this case, what we do? We play mate threat. There is no defense. The forcing move is rook check. Bishop. Again you are forced to come. This is the point many players flutter. This is the player's point. Now you have to give rook check. This is the move. Now only move. Because if you can come here also. You can come, but then only move rook here. Rook will come somewhere. Somewhere rook will come here. Now you here only move. Now rook check. Again only move. Now rook b4. This is the key diagram. Key diagram. Now pinning the bishop does not work. Why? Because the bishop is now watching. The point is, this does not work. The bishop is watching the square. So rook cannot come. Now if the bishop, suppose imagine the rook on first rank, he would have defended it. But now the bishop is watching the square. So no more defense. Lost. Lost. So this is very important to understand that he cannot go to king e8. Rook d7 check. He cannot go to king e8. So he will go to king c8. But in this case, rook f7 check. Threat. Now he returns king b8. Sorry, what is happening? Now rook f7 mate threat kb8. Now this point you can come check, force, and then winning the game. Or there is another alternative also. There is another alternative also. Now king c8 loses. Rook g7. Now this is lost. So I hope you understand. Anybody has a question on this, please ask me. Anybody has a question on this point, you can ask me. Hello Subankar, good afternoon. Many times, a player sacrifices his minor piece, knight or a bishop or 2 pawns, then you are left with rook and bishop versus rook. So it is essential to know this type of maneuver. Any question? So shall I move forward? This is force sequence, only move. Again the only move. Again the only move. If he comes, it becomes much easier. So again the only move. Now we shift the rook. Shift the rook. Only move. No other defense. Because king e8 is a mate in 1. Mate in 1. The only move. This is the point. You go bishop b3. Force the rook to the third rank, which is very uncomfortable for the defending side. Force the rook to third rank. Only move. Mate threat. Only move. Rook check. Now again you have to force back. This point. This is a critical moment. Please note that this is a critical moment when rook on third rank. You go rook check. Now king e8 loses immediately rook. Because the defensive resource is gone. The bishop is watching the square. Bishop is watching the square. He can't come. So king e8 he cannot come. On king c8, rook here and wins. Finish. Now rook d3 is lost because of rook a4. This is the point. Dragging the rook to the third rank. This is the point. The only move. So after king d8, he loses to bishop blocking. Now king move, direct checkmate, and king here, you will drag the king to the corner and mate. So this is important. Now just this is winning. I hope it is clear. Hello Palan Mojavi. Greetings. Anybody has a doubt, most welcome to ask me. Rook and the initial position here, this is the, suppose we bring the other side. I mean the king on e6, bishop on e5, rook. This will be same thing only. Now this position is winning. I hope it is clear. Any doubt? Any doubt is there? So I move forward to the next diagram. Okay. No question. So I will move forward. Now, this is about under promotion. We make a queen, it's a draw. We make a queen, it's a draw. Take and stalemate. That is why this is a theme in endgame. We need to do under promotion. But this is also not good move. Then rook will come and then king is coming quickly. So we need to promote a rook and win the game. There is no more stalemate. And it is enough. Now we will push the pawn and then give a threat to the king. Or here a threat to the king. So under promotion is key. Alright, I go. A position here, I told you the theme. The lone queen can push the opponent's king to a corner, leaving him no moves. So if only a player knows that theme can win this game. What I mean to say, you have to force the king without having any move. Yeah, you have to force the king and then the rook is forced to go to this square. And after that rook is unprotected. The theme, I just told you today, first diagram. The queen. Now king, queen. Now again, now force. After this, the king is cornered. The queen has a power to drag the opponent's king to a corner without the help of king or any other piece. Now the force move. Now through two checks, you just give a check, and next check you pick up the rook. And it is easy win. This is easy. Again you push to, same thing, you push the king to a corner. You can do like this also. This is one and the same thing. One and the same thing. This also. Now one and the same thing. One and the same thing. Now this is, you can push, but now you don't need to because you have already done a damage. Just the king comes out. Zugzwang. I will keep on pushing to the corner, then he is forced to give the pawn and lose the game. Okay. Push and win the game. So lone queen has a power to push the king. In fact, Raja Ravi Sekhar, I.M. Raja Ravi Sekhar wrote a nice small book on endgame. He had given lot of good themes in that. In those days, there were paucity of chess books. So that was a good book published by Mr. Seshadri, and it was very helpful to many youngsters. Excellent book on endgame. Alright. Let's see. Now this is about, it is not the material, the piece position. Normally a bishop is 3 points or 3.5. Here he has got all the 8 pawns. Okay. But bishop alone can control and can save the game. Check. And all pawns are controlled. And the king is in ideal place, not allowing the king to come out. Draw. Just wait and draw. If he just comes, just maintain the position. He will run out of pawn moves. He will run out. Or maybe you can do this, the same thing. So it is about the positional advantage of a piece, not about material. Next. Yeah. What about this position if it is white to play? What about this position white to play? Let's go over quickly. What about this position? Can somebody tell me how should white play? This is also a theme. Think. Right back. Fine. All right. All right. It is a draw. No. It is a win. The theme is now it is white to play. All you have to bring the same position with black to play. This is a win. It is called triangulation. Pass the move to the opponent. You have to bring the same position, but it should be black to play. Imagine black to play. Black has to come out. Black has to come out. So you just wait. Don't give a check. And now we reach the same diagram, but now black is in zugzwang. Black is in zugzwang because he has to come out or give the pawn. So sometimes a simple triangulation wins the game. Okay, next we go. This position is white to play and draw. These are all thematic special endings. White to play. Okay. This is a draw, but the point is you need to force the pawn to come here. You need to force the pawn. Directly, suppose you give a check, it doesn't help. Now the knight is coming and the pawn will come. So it is not a good idea to give a check directly. So you need to force the pawn, make it much weaker. Force move. Bishop into pawn is a draw. One knight cannot mate. Only move. Knight f3 is not possible. King a2 is coming. So only move. But then the thematic draw, bishop comes. Other moves will lose. Any other move, black is winning. Simple threat. Black is playing simple this move. So only move. The point is when it takes it, you have to make sure that the king goes to the color where knight is. Imagine the knight is on h7. You should go to f1. Or knight at a6, b7, see any white square, you should go. Anywhere knight is in dark square, imagine at b8, h8, anywhere, you should go to a dark square. Here, this is the correct move, wrong move. You should go to the color where knight is. Suppose you go a wrong move, it is lost. For example, now let us say comes king and now zugzwang. You must allow now the black king to come out. White cannot now stop the black king coming out. But when you go to the right color, knight cannot force the king. Knight cannot never gain a move. Knight cannot gain a move. So he goes to white, you go to white. This is the point. This is the point. Now you go white, I will go. You can only give a check. You cannot improve. No way. So this is a theme that you have to first block. He has to take it, whether there is no choice. Otherwise, he will just shuttle up and down. Nothing more. Only move. Because if you play knight here, it is I will play with white color. And if you take again, this is the correct move, wrong move. If you go king to f2, knight is winning. That is why you must choose the color where knight is. This is draw. I hope it is clear. To you. Now let's go. Next diagram. Now this particular position, it is white to play. Of course, white has a huge material advantage. So how should white win the game? How should white win the game? Can somebody tell me how white should win? I give you time. Find out white to play and win. You have an extra knight and a pawn. How do you win the game? Can somebody tell me? Somebody must participate. I should not keep on telling the answer. Please participate. How should white win? There is a theme. Every position I am giving you, it consists of a theme. So, what is the theme here? Okay. Not knight h7. Knight h7 is not correct. Rook and rook will come. Knight h7, rook check can come. The point is, here you have to boil to a king pawn endgame. White wins a game to a forced king pawn endgame. This is not correct. Rook check will come. The correct move is rook check. He is forcing. You cannot take it. There is no win. Now the knight h7. Very strange. The rook goes anywhere, the knight check, and you are forced to take the rook. The idea, now rook goes anywhere, you will give a check. And rook is forced. Then we reach a winning king pawn endgame. No, rook a4. This is not this one. This is a draw. Rook check will come. Rook check, and I will take the pawn. I will take the pawn. Draw. So rook check, only move. Knight suddenly helpless. The rook can go anywhere, here or here. So knight check, forced, and we reach a winning king pawn endgame. So this is the theme that many times we have to always boil the endgame to a winning king pawn endgame. It is very important. Hello, Mr. Venkatesan. Good afternoon. Very important to know these themes. What about this position? It is white to play win. We need to exploit the superior king position and a bad king position. White to play and win. White to play and win the game. How does white win? Black has 3 extra pawns, but white is winning. Can somebody tell me how white is winning? Prithviraj Vomik, rook check. So you give a rook check. Give a rook check. First move check is correct. Now again the same rook gives check. The point, the king cannot return to any of the squares because checkmate. Check again. The king cannot return. It is called liner mate. When you come, the rook check and then the rook checkmate. Liner. This is called liner mate. The only move. But then check. Now if king takes it, this is simply winning. The only move, but then you lose the rook. Or he takes with the rook, also same thing. King into. Now there is no answer. To save the mate, he has to come and lose the rook. And it is winning easily. So the whole point is, it is not about the material advantage. It is about the bad placement. The king is poorly placed. The rooks are poorly placed. So all badly placed pieces. We make a slight change. For example, if the rook is here, you are not losing. If the rook is here, you are not losing. Not losing the game. So bad placement of king and badly places rooks. 3 pawn, still he is losing. Now this position is thematic. At maybe one whole, sometimes I will do a whole episode about one side have 2 knights, other side has a pawn. Without the pawn it's a draw. 2 knights can never checkmate. You can make helpmate, but not checkmate. You can make helpmate also difficult. But if there is a pawn which is blocked 2nd, 3rd or 4th rank, almost always you will win. Let us say the pawn is blocked 2nd rank, knight on h6 or knight on h4. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th rank, you have a very good chance to win with the 2 knights. I will do a special episode on that. So here white is winning the game. So how can white win this game? Please find out about it. How can white win the game? White can win only by checkmate. So how do you checkmate? Rather, I should ask, how do you checkmate? Why white can checkmate? This position leading to a checkmate. It's very simple. You need to position your pieces. For example, you need to position your piece to come here. Come here. Then it is a checkmate. You should position your piece. Like knight to f6. Now king has only 1 square. Now we force him to capture the knight. Black has little choice. Check. And just wait. Force and mate. So this is a theme, it comes in many games. Of course, if it is normal move, king is somewhere out, it is a draw. However, suppose imagine the pawn is on h7 and you have knight on h6. Now no matter where the black king, it is lost. Now imagine the black king is on h6 now. It definitely winning. So, I mean black pawn on h7, white knight is on h6. Definitely winning. You need to block and push the king to a corner. But here it is very easy because already the king is in corner. So knight move, and only move, knight check, only move, and then force, and then checkmate. The same theme here. The theme is same here. White to play and give a checkmate. The theme is same here. Somebody tell me, how does white win? Correct answer. Subhankar, correct answer. Correct answer. Now force to take and king, force to push and checkmate. The same thing, knight h3 is the correct answer. Knight h3, there is no movement for the king. You are only, black's only move, only legal. Then again the only move and knight checkmate. Okay, next. This is a more tricky one and it is a hard one. It's not easy. White to play and win. The point is, you can see the king is ideally placed watching squares and the knights are ideally placed watching the squares. So he has got left with only 2 pawn moves. Let's see, you find out. White to play and win, the power of 2 knights. White power. How do you do it? The point is, suppose king, now suppose we move the knight, the king will try to run away, but he is not running away. He is not running away because knight here, the king cannot run away, knight check. Suddenly all this is controlled. The king has to return. King has to return. And now what do you do? You wait a move. Then there is only one legal move, you wait. And anything he promotes, there is a checkmate. So after knight f5, it is zugzwang. King cannot come on knight check and here wait and then wait and zugzwang. Or alternately he can push. Then while force queen and there is a checkmate. Checkmate. So anything is lost. You can push this pawn, it is one and the same thing. Same thing. Push. Now, no. When you push this pawn, he can come knight. Now you are forced. Knight. You are forced, but then knight checkmate. So any which way, the two knights and king are coordinating, control all the squares around the black king. Let's see. This position is white to play and win. White to play and win the game. The very simple theme, we give a check at this point. The king has only one square. Thereafter, a check on this square, it will be made either on h3 or f3. That's very logical. So I tell you, when you give a knight check, king has only to come. Then there is a knight checkmate. Work it out. Banawat position. Yeah. Banawat position. The point is here, you should give the correct move is because this knight is positioned to come here. So this knight is the one you have to give a check. Only move. And then knight goes here. Now the knight is watching. It can come to any square. So black has no king move or any knight move, checkmate. Any knight move. You move the knight, knight h3 mate. Suppose you move knight h3 mate. Or you move this knight, the knight f3 mate. This is smothered mate. So the whole point is, you need to, even though the material factor is there, so ng3 check leaves you in a hopeless position. You have to allow a mate. Black is lost hopelessly. Smothered mate. Now, I'll give you some combination. Let's deal with some combination. It is black to play and win. Few combinations. Yes. Kamakshi Vastu, right answer. Vinay, right answer. How black will win the game now? How black is winning the game? Normally, you guys are good in combination, so solve it quickly. Mr. Venkatesan, C3 is not correct answer. Because there is a check is there. Not correct answer. The point is, you need to see the strength of your pieces. This rook and these two rooks are aiming in this line. Not queen d to discover check. Not this. It is based on a discover attack. Yes, Manish Radia. Bishop e4. The point is, after bishop e4, this is a mate in one. And if you play here queen d7, then he wins the game technically. Now rook check, rook into check. It is lost. This check is there. Technical win. So bishop e4, unleashing the power, discover attack, mainly targeting this rook. Next position, it is white to play. I flip the board, white to play and win. White to play and win the game. Vinoy, the answer is right. Now the threat is knight check. And if he moves the king, still the knight, rook is trapped. Now if he moves the king, the threat is knight check. Even if you move the king, there is no respite. A knight check, knight attacks and rook is trapped. And if it takes, anyway rook is trapped. Anyway, the rook is mobility. Lost. Okay, Subhankar and Vinay, right answer. Let's go to the next one. You need to spot the weak point in the opponent's camp. Black to play and win the game. This is a bit hard one, but you can work it out. This is a tough position. But if you find the strength of your pieces and opponent's weak point, you need to combine both. Not only opponent's weak point, the strength of your pieces. Black to play and win. Find out about it. A theme. It's a theme. I give you time. Because 4 minutes I will give you. Because it's a hard one, I give you 4 minutes. Clock is ticking on the board. Our friend Georgy Timosenko is black. Our GM from Ukraine, our very good friend Georgy Timosenko is black. We are all glad that Pragnanda beat Carlson. It's a great moral boosting for the Indian chess youngsters. Yes, Vinoy, it is a G2 checkmate, but there is not checkmate. It is either winning the queen or checkmate. There is no force checkmate. It is either you win the queen or you give checkmate. Knight c2, the strength of your pieces. Now the point is bishop is watching and the queen is watching. This is one point. And the queen is unprotected. Second point. So knight check, knight threatens material. You are forced to capture. You lose material. Now you forced to capture. And now rook check. The point is, if he takes with the rook or with the king, he is losing the queen. And he takes with the knight, supporting the queen, which is a checkmate. Well done. Well done. Knight c2. Knight c2. Correct answer. We have one more diagram. Last one. Black to play and win. Black to play and win the game. That is the right answer, Vinoy. Queen G1 check. If knight into, smothered mate. And if king into, then back rank mate. Back rank. Either smothered mate or back rank mate. So well done. So I have not kept much tactics today. So I will take you to some positions in the attacking instinct. In Murphy's days, there is great Murphy used to unleash fantastic attacking combinations. It is because the defense was much weaker. However, it is also not easy. You have to have a combinative vision. You have to have an attacking instinct. Okay, let's see some. Now, Zula Sachs, he was my good friend and he was a great attacking player. I mean, he was a member of the Hungarian team that won the Olympiad in 1979-80, around that area. So, then Gyula Sachs, then Bilek. Who are the other member? Bilek, Som, Gyula Sachs, Adorian and Portis. These 5 members were the main and they won the Olympiad. The Hungarian government announced a pension to them. Till the end of their life they will get 1 lakh forints, 100,000 forints every month. I mean, of course, in the terms of rupees it is not high. I mean, in those days 25, today it is like 1 lakh rupees, 100,000 rupees today's, or maybe 1.5 lakh rupees per month. Hello gaming, hi. So this game of Gyula Sachs was very interesting. I picked up. Now Bishop C4 and close Guicopian has become popular recently, but objectively this is the best Spanish attack. Now A6 castle. Normally Rook E1 is the main line where the Chigorin and there are other lines, Marshal, it is all there. So he played here Queen E2. It is known as Voral attack. Voral attack. Now the reason the pawn is now protected, the queen is protecting, he is giving a threat to take the pawn. So you got to play this. Now C3. Idea trying to build up a center, and also he is threatening to take an important piece, strategically important piece. So you got to make a room. Now this is not the best way to play. Now you should have played castle, and white plays normally h3 or d4, whatever, but now d3. You can't play d4, the knight is pinned. The normal, this is the strategy. The rook comes to e1 or d1, then knight comes here and to attack. So white has got little better game because of the maneuver bg4 and bishop s3. The bishop is poorly placed. This is the point. Now white has developed lot of attacking plan. Normally, if the bishop is somewhere here around, then the knight goes to h2, and but now you have a tempo. White is building up the pressure. Now this is an excellent move. The queen is watching indirectly. That means someday I can give the check, and he cannot take it. Of course, now the check is useless. But let us see how the game develops. Well, if you do any other move, anyway he is going to play bishop to g5, rook to d1 comes, forcing bishop into knight. If black do anything on the king side, it is bad. h6 or g6, then easily you take the pawn and you weaken the castle position. So black must play patiently without weakening the structure. Now this is an interesting idea. Why? Because now the bishop and queen are watching the pawn. That means when I can give a check, if you are not guarding, then it is lost. But you have to wait patiently. A bad move. It is difficult to foresee that this a combination is coming. But it is already a difficult position. I would say that instead of playing this, maybe you could have gone some king h8. Even though it is a bad move, but this was still having some hope, but a bad move. Now a tempo. You cannot play f6. You can't play f6. You cannot play knight into bishop, bishop into rook winning material, and you can't play bishop, knight check winning material. Knight check is winning, and idea queen into pawn check, finishing the game. So the only move. But then you have check. The point is, after he takes the knight, bishop here, and there is no answer. There is no answer. Queen or coming here, and it is lost. So you cannot take. You can't move also. Then knight into pawn check. The king moves, and then maybe you can play knight into pawn check. The king moves, and knight into rook. Or you can play knight into bishop. It doesn't matter. Knight into rook, queen attack. So this very strange move, knight check. You cannot take it. Only move. No. This is not the game. No. I guess I have overwritten. It's a beautiful game, so I will show the original position to you. And now knight check, and he resigned because after this anyway it is lost. All right. Next game. Now these are not normally good moves. If white plays knight f3, d4, then e6 is a good move, Paulsen, or you can say Taimanov, okay, Khan, but not at this juncture. This is not best move. It is better to castle quickly or try to hit center. A player should not ignore the kingside development. In Sicilian, when the game is more wide open, you cannot afford to stay a long time in center and give some tempo. Castle. It looks like there is a harmless position, but white gets a decisive tempo. Now another bad move. Still he should have castled. Bad move. A tempo. Okay, he could have played knight here also. Then queen d2 would come. Okay. Taking the bishop is bad, he can't castle. Now castle. Now you can see the king has become weaker. And the bishop's power. Rook is also unprotected. And this point is weak. So taking advantage of all this, white plays here knight to f4. Now third attack. Knight bishop e6 gives a positional advantage. I will put rook e1 and pressure. So he pushes. Amazingly, this position is lost now. It is difficult to believe that white is already winning. You cannot take that. Taking it is bad because bishop into will come and then bad. So only move. The threat is knight into. Now queen cannot take, knight cannot take. Going to the pressure. So he moves the rook. Again there is a pressure. So anchoring the knight. Now of course this is not coming, but better to anchor it. White to play. How should you continue the game? White has a distinct advantage already. Somebody must tell me how should white continue. How should white continue? We know knight f6. The point is you win material or get mated. Now under attack. Rook is attack, knight is attacking. So you cannot avoid the loss of material by taking, but the king becomes an easy target. Knight check. Now the point is you have to take it. Now knight check. You got to take it, but then mate. Okay, you can come. You can come. That is also mate. King f5, and taking is also mate in 1. So the whole point is, many times players think that they say why. There was no need to play e6 in that position. There was no need to play e6. There is a move here. This is okay. This is just a bad position. For example, e4 c5, e4 c5, knight f3, knight c6. Now bb5. Then this is a standard main line. Here it makes some sense. It makes a sense because I want to avoid double pawn and I am threatening knight e7 and a6. This makes some sense here. But in this position, this makes no sense to play e6. Just it is bad. And he made a further bad move. That playing on queen side for no reason. Why? Why he is playing queen side for no reason? I will tell you. For example, you castle. He will play bishop. And now knight is not good because take and then I come here and try to open up the position. So this is just a bad move. Okay, I will go to the next diagram, next game. Let us say, now normally this is called the Owen's defense. Owen's defense is very weak because it is doing nothing to develop the king side quickly, and it is also a pawn move, no piece move. So this is weak. Why you are not showing very? Why are you showing very fast? Okay, I will slow down, Mr. Venkatesan. I will slow down. Actually, I am not well. Bit cough, cold, and I just recovered. And okay, I will slow down. Slow down. Now bishop to b7. So bishop d3. The other line is, if you play knight c3, he can play e6, and he is threatening to come here and threatening to come here and threatening to attack. This is the point. So here knight c3 is not the best. Bishop to d3. But then some of the players will get worried that what about this pawn? Bishop is watching. What about this pawn? He may play f5, which is a bad move. f5, it is a bad move. Why it is a bad move? Because you can win material. Black can win material at cost of the king position. Agreed. Suppose pawn takes, bishop takes. Now it is winning material, but queen check. Pawn into. The point is the discover attack or discover attack. So knight loses to discover check, and it is a winning position. The position is hopeless for black because after taking this, he can play queen into with a mate threat, and this is trapped. So he cannot do. That means at this point, black must stop the discover attack by blocking the pawn. So we give pawn check, discover check. Now it appears that it is not easy. The rook is under attack, and the king is in trouble. So what is the use of the material at the cost of that jeopardizing the king position? No, not queen g5, not queen g5. bg2, queen h5. Yeah. And now the point is, you should go simply knight double up. Forget the rook. He can take the rook, he can take the knight. Both ways losing. You take the knight, it is lost directly. And now the rook is lost. So you cannot take. And if you take the rook, I think it is anyway lost. Anyway lost. because on this you can give a check, on this there is a mate. So this is anyway lost. So you cannot do. That means at this point you cannot take the knight, you cannot take the rook. But what about knight here? Knight here also it is lost. The point is on knight here you can attack the bishop. The idea is to bring this bishop into the game. This is the target now. Now if you take it, now bishop comes and winning the game. No, I think here bishop comes and wins. Bishop comes and wins. Rook takes pawn does not work because of knight g5. Mate threat. And this is also a threat. Queen does not work. Knight into and bishop g7 mate. Knight into, and this mate. So he cannot play here bishop into rook. Queen here, he can't do this. If he takes rook into pawn, then we win queen into bishop. The rook is under attack. So the whole point is, the sum up is Owen's defense simply bd3. Black cannot get away weakening the king position. This is losing. I will give the double question mark. I will give this position move a double question mark. Losing the game. That means he has to play here some other moves. So in the game bd3 there are other moves. In any case, suppose you play here e6, I will play knight f3. You double attack. Then I will play nd2. Then you play bishop b4 is bad, c3. Now you attack. I will advance. Now queen e2. White is much better. Because black has to exchange. There is no choice. f5 is bad because I open up the position. This is bad. And now you take. White is a big lead in development. White has got a big lead in development. Now space, center and development. Everything white is better. So Owen's defense is simply bad. The text game is interesting. What I am showing the game here. So we have a Sicilian defense with that b6 and bb7. Very poorly placed. Okay. For example, now I will tell you in the beginning. Let us say now knight f3. Now the standard move is to play knight f6, c5, d5. These are the standard moves. Let us say somebody plays this. This is bad. Now I play Sicilian. I started as a positional game, but now I will open the game because black has just, king side is not developed. A senseless move. This is nothing to do with center. That is why a player should not play carelessly. e4 I think plus minus. So let us say this game. Knight f3. Now it is turning out to be a Kahn-Paulsen type of position without a6. It's a bad move anyway because you are not going to give the bishop and make the dark squares weak. This is anyway bad move. Fantastic position for white. White has castled and a lead in development and also all the domination of dark squares. White has domination of dark squares and a superior king position. Already the bishop and queen are watching this point. So any moment e5 can come. Normally a knight at g6, b6, they are very poorly placed. So in this situation, not only it is a poor placement, that f4, f5 can come. Opening the f5. Provoking a weakness. There is no time because this is some nasty threat is coming here and now this is also there. So he played f5. Threat. The point is already the king position is very bad and he castles, he walks into attack. If black castles, 5 white pieces are ready to attack. 3 minor pieces, queen and rook. If he castles, it is bad. He played a worse move. Now the point is the pressure, but king and queen in center. So bishop c4, excellent move. The check is not problem because the bishop is indirectly protected by the knight. The king position. So the check is harmless check. He really cannot win the bishop. He really cannot win the bishop. So castle. Okay. So when there are so many good pieces, a combination is yet to come. Must come. Can somebody tell me how should white win with a combination and attack? 5 active pieces. Mind you, queen, rook, 2 bishops and knight, all are active. How should white win the game? Can somebody tell me how white is winning? Kanakasri says knight h6. No, not correct, not correct. Knight h6 is not correct. Because in that variation you are giving time to black. Knight h6 is not correct. No, knight h6 is not correct. The point is knight h6, pawn into h6 and bishop f6, you have got a check. You have got a check also. Queen c5 check. That gives him time. Yes, we know bishop f6 is correct. This is the most accurate move because queen into knight check is winning. Queen into knight check and pawn into, we have queen h6. So bishop f6 is the perfect execution. Now he plays queen check. Okay. Now queen into bishop, you have got deadly queen h6. You have got the vicious and deadly queen h6. No matter how you capture, it is lost. Lost. Alright. So let's go to the next one. Now I will tell you, I used to enjoy Paul Murphy's game in my early childhood career when I started. It was something fantastic, unbelievable games, some combinations. Of course, today I know that the defense was much weaker. The opponents were not following the basic fundamental principles. And that is why miniatures was resulted and sudden shock was coming. So I am going to show you a simple game of 100-year-old, almost 100-year-old. So, amateur versus Abraham. Gerald Abraham. Fundamental mistakes. Now, anybody nowadays will play bishop h4 and it will lead to a Taras or it will lead to a Tartakor variation or orthodox variation. After b is 7, now in c3, castle, e3, this is called Taras. Or e3, this is called Tartakor. Or this is called orthodox. So these are the lines Standard line. Orthodox is a bit passive. I would say best is very active line. Tartakover line is the most active line in Queen's Gambit. Tartakover or Taras, semi-Taras. But this is just bad. This is a fundamental error. I don't see, there is no reason to give the bishop for nothing. One of the idea, he wants to play pawn into pawn and queen coming here and try to long castle. One of the idea now, bishop b4. He stops the idea. Suppose you play passively, then this strategy is successful. He will take, and there is a problem. No, I think even if you play this is strategy is passive. So he plays bishop b4. Castle. White is not bothered about center. Still pawn takes pawn. He should have played anyway. That is active, but he should have played that move. A bad move. All right. Check. The point of the move is the queen is unprotected here. The natural looking b8, knight is pinned. Knight cannot move. b8 loses with a combination. b8 loses with rook into check. Knight cannot take it, and after queen into check. No matter you take with the king or queen, knight check will win the bishop. Queen. A piece up. It will be a piece up. So you cannot interpose the bishop. That means you have to move the king. Okay, there is no other choice. This is losing directly. Rook into followed by queen f3 and knight d4. So he moves the king. What should you do now? What should you do now as black? I flip the board for a better vision. Okay. Yes, who is this? Binoy. Queen f3. Amazing move. Queen f3 in a Murphy style. In the pure style of Paul Murphy. In 1850s, Paul Murphy used to do this kind of brilliant sacrifices. Queen f3. Now, queen f3. Check, bishop. And tempo. A tempo, the only move. Queen attacked and f3 only move, but then deflect the queen and mate. In the style of Paul Murphy. The whole point is the result of this combination or weakness, the basic fundamental errors. This is the bad one. Of course, that doesn't mean that black is lost here, but black still, instead of playing, white is not that it is losing. After nc3 is okay. Now he plays bishop b4. He should take pawn into pawn. Clear the pawn tension in the center. Now play e3. This is a reasonable game. It is a reasonable game. bd3 and castle, or be2 and castle, a reasonable game. But first of all, he surrendered two bishops, and then he again makes another mistake, blocking the pawn and bad. Here, this is queen coming to b3 is useless move. This is the last mistake. Still pawn takes pawn would have survived for white. Of course, he is not winning material, but this was probably the best move. And b2 and castle quickly. Alright, so we go to the next game. Misatal is white. So this is the standard main line. The other line here is to play f4. It is a classical way, and white has space and some advantage. With the idea he wants to play knight f3 and then bd3 and then knight. So this is another plan, but this is more active. So Tal always liked piece play. So BD3 is more active. Now C3. Now the standard line, one of the main line, you go knight here and castle. This is one plan. The other plan is knight F3. So knight F3, the point is, now there is some problem can come. For example, now knight F3, pawn into pawn, queen to B6, queen to B6. This can give some difficulty for white. Now how do we protect the pawn? The point is NB3 is not good. Now we say we protect the pawn like this. Why this is bad? A5 will come. Idea, I want to drive the knight and then take the pawn. And A4 is bad, bishop check. This puts white into a difficult situation. Now king F1. This is not good, and BD2 loses a pawn. Bishop check. You cannot take with the knight, you cannot take with the queen. The idea of A4. The idea forcing A4 weakens the knight. That is the reason here queen B6. Here, no. Here queen B6. You should not play NB3. This is bad. This position still white is better. Believe me, white is still better. White should ignore and give the pawn. White should castle. And now he takes. We have seen this kind of gambit in other French defenses also. Other variation. Queen takes. Now knight F3. Queen. Now white has got lead in development. The pawn is cramping black. Number one. The bishop is powerful here. Why? Because the defensive resource of black is not there. Black's defensive resources is not there because knight F6 is not coming. So what we should do now? The move the A3. Why A3? Now after the bishop comes, you wait. Maybe you wait. Maybe queen F4. The idea of A3. Now see, suppose you play a normal move like S3 or something, the queen A4. Let us say, just for argument's sake, now you play B7. Now queen A4 with the idea transferring the queen to the king side. Is not working. It's not working because of this. That is the reason white plays here A3. So that the pawn is watching and the queen is planning to transfer to the king side for a time. And if you play A4, it is bad. Now you may think that B4 is coming. This is a weak move. And if you play normal, then I will play queen A4. White plays and white has the better. Because the center is there, I can easily protect with rook E1 and the queen is coming when I will have 4 pieces in attack, 5 pieces in attack. For example, these are all active. All are active. Active pieces. The moment you castle, then attacking plan comes quickly. So the queen B6 has its drawback, but many people fall into this kind of trap. I mean, not an opening trap, but they play mechanically defending. Mechanically here, they defend and they lose material. Check. Then you are forced to move. This is bad. Coordination is lost and a poor placement of white king. Okay. So let me take you to the game. Instead of playing C5, C3, take. Now, not going, but bad move. One must be very careful when you try to open the center. The point is the king position. The queen is already watching this point. The queen is already watching this square. So immediately knight G5. Especially if one is playing with Mikhail Tal, has to be doubly careful. Now NG5 will finish the game. Knight into E6 is crushing. Queen H5 is crushing. Knight into H6, BG6 is crushing. So only move. Check. Only move. Check. Only move. Check. Only move. Now all you have to need, the bishop should join the attack. Knight C4. Go to the maximum important active square. Knight F3 is not effective. Why this is effective? He is not only threatening this, the knight will enter this vulnerable point. Now bishop check, bishop check, queen check, and next movement. Of course, this is all looking, the only drawback that black has played this horrible move. This is a horrible move. Black should have played now. Now in this position, black should play queen b6 and take the challenge. You should take the challenge, castle, and accept the pawn. Alright. So I will go to the next line, next game I selected. Any doubt in this? Any doubt? Okay. Two more games I will show you. Now here this is called the classical system. The other move here is called the Petrosian system. Petrosian system is little more complicated. Classical system is less complicated, but it offers sometimes a opportunity to give a gambit. This reputation of this move is not very good. I mean, there was a great player, Wolf Anderson was fond of this, but it is not good. Knight into bishop, simply lose time. 3 moves to take the bishop is not correct. Now he strikes at center. d5. You take the knight, then bishop into c3 will protect the d5 pawn. So d5 comes and forced rather. Now the point is the scope of the bishop becomes more important here. Suppose you play direct queen into, it is less effective. Queen into, black will play simply d6 and d6 and nd7 is okay for him. But wonderful move, knight into. This is the point. This is the point. Now the point, this is not allowing the knight to come. Complete the development. Knight is watching the square. Here, Viswanathan Anand recommended black should play b5 so that the knight can come. Because if you play f4, a check is there. Anand's recommendation to play actively bishop is watching the diagonal and helping the knight to come out. This position should be plus equal, not more than that. This is the turning point. Instead of playing the Anand's recommendation b5, black played the passive move. And after this he never recovers. After this, black never recovered from the bad situation. f4. He managed to development but paying a great price. Now the point is the queen is coming here, the rook is coming here, that there is plan. The pawns in the attack, we have got 3 minor pieces, queen, rook and 2 pawns. Except the c1 rook, all pieces are participating in the kingside assault. It is not normal. It is not normal in Karpov's game. He goes for a kingside attack. Normally Karpov is a very calm, quite technical player. So here, let me not go further. I will tell you that in 1993, Karpov played the best tournament in his entire career. In that tournament, that Linares 1993, there were all great players are there. And Karpov won the tournament with round to spare, I think. And he had a rating performance of 3100. 3100 in front of so many strong players. Hello, Fakir Maji. Kemon ache? Kemon ache? Bhalo. Alright. So here, a6. Why a6? He wants to bring the queen to protecting the b5 square. So a6. Not allowing the expansion. Now the attack should come. A prophylactic move. Because suddenly the queen can come. Suddenly the queen will come to b6 after the pawn break. So a prophylactic move. And also rook is ready to g1. Take the pawn. Bobby Fischer said, if opponent is giving material, you should take it unless you find a way that he will punish you. If you think he cannot punish, just take it. Because after that, he will be under tremendous pressure to take the initiative or go for mate. I don't see here, white has center, white has activity. What is the threat? B2 pawn is the only thing. So I doubt there is any real pressure on white. So ruthlessly Karpov grabbed it. Come back. You cannot take the b2 pawn. It is taboo. b2 pawn is taboo. Rook b1 and pick up. So here only move. Now you have to find a way to prove the initiative. Queen d3. The idea I told you earlier. The queen come like this or this way. You can come here or here, go for attack. So transferring the queen. And notice if the king was on g1, the end game would have come. Queen d4 check would have come. So ready. White is all ready for the advance of the pawns and finish the king. Even a knight check can come after f5. So he moved. You need to protect the center. Forced. Here you can't grab the pawn. This is grabbing lost. After grabbing, you take and knight f6 check and then bd5. You take the pawn, it is crushing. You will take and knight check is crushing. Only move. And now king moves, bishop into overwhelming position. So you cannot touch the d5 pawn. That means only move king. Now you have to protect the center pawn. Actually, this is a tricky move that a tempting and hasty, impatient f5 is bad. If you will play impatient f5, the knight will enter. If you play this, the knight will enter to the center. The knight cannot be moved. This is a bad move. So, before you, without f5, no plan is coming. Before you push f5, you drive the knight by b3. That is what a perfect coordination and timing. You cannot take queen into b3, lost. Rook b1 and pick up the bishop. The only move. And now f5. No, he plays g5. g5, lovely. What a move. Just space clearance. The finish is really beautiful. f5. You cannot deny. Double pressure. Now immediately if you play ng5 or so, nothing happens. For example, suppose you play ng5, it is not really dangerous. So you must not, like in Sicilian Dragon, Yugoslav attack, you should not have the defensive resource of queen. So block it. Now ng5 is threat. So here ng6 does not work because rook here and finishing the game. Finishing the game. Over. So ng6 does not work. So he plays queen back. Now the point is, if you try to attack, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Knight check, rook into. Now g7 attack. Bishop must return, only move. But then this is finished. Again, the bishop h7 is cracking. Finish. I don't see g7 a defense is possible now. Queen g6 check and mating attack. Rook into pawn mating attack. So this is lost. So he cannot play bishop to e7 also. Only move. Check. Only move. Now the final touch. Now the final touch. It is simple queen into g6. What a move. Rook h4 and mate. I like the game because the systematic improvement without giving counterplay and the timing in attack. And it is the whole variation I suspect. Okay. But actually, as Anand recommended, b5 would have pushed the game to a long battle. Here, this is the bad. Here, this is the move that would have rather survived. One more game of Anatoly Karpov. I will show you one more game. Basically, we need to be very good in fundamental principles of the opening so that after 12-14 moves, we have a reasonable position. It may be equal plus, it may be plus equal or equal. Then the fight goes on middle game. But if you are not playing fundamental opening principles, if you are not following, you get into a bad position. Then it is difficult to recover if the opponent is a strong player. That is why opening stage you follow strictly the fundamental principles. And middle game, once you arrive, then you have to make a proper assessment that what are the strong and weak points for both sides. And if you are having a little weak position, you first set right your weaknesses. You make some prophylactic moves. Cover your weakness first before entering to the battle of middle game. And if you think your position is better, your pieces are stronger, opponent has some weak points, then you try to take the initiative at right place, at right time, right direction. Okay, end game is totally different from all this. It is different. You have to be very good in end game also to post good results. So here in this game, Joe Lottier is black and white, and black is former world champion and great legendary Anatoly Karpov. Okay, he was fond of Nimzo Indian and Queen's Indian. It served him very well throughout the career. So he was very fond of Nimzo Indian. In my opinion, it is complex and it was in the repertoire of all the world champions. Nimzo Indian defense, Nimzo is defense. Now the main line goes here, E3. And after castle, knight BD3 and knight F3 and castle. So knight F3 and castle. This is the main line. And white can also play the knight E2, which I feel slightly inferior for white compared to BD3. The other main line, this is the main line. The other main line is classical Queen C2. Queen C2. Because white wants to avoid the double pawn. Because in Nimzo Indian defense, normally the knights are playing good role compared to the bishops. The scope of the bishop are limited. White scope is limited with his bishop. So, avoiding double pawn. If black now here he plays, he is trying to complete development. Here, white doesn't mind the exchange of pieces. You can come here, take and exchange, but white is little better in this variation. So, BB7. Now the normal move is to play bishop B4. In fact, here this reputation of this BG5 is not great. So black should continue B4 and BB2. B4, BB2 is a good one. Anyway, this is what you call this Leningrad setup is not great in this position. There is a problem now. How to develop the white pieces? So he tries to block and then bring bishop D3, try to knight E2 and castle. This is not good. Now white's plan of B4, somebody may worry rook is already there. Rook is already there against the queen. So it was better to play queen. Now I don't want to open the game because rook has come already. It is better to play queen and then try to play B4. It should be equal. But queen at B3 is poorly placed. Well, the queen is doing some job because queen is watching the bishop. Some kind of tension. But okay. Here, white should try to castle. At this point, white should try to castle. Here, this is the best move. And after pawn into, bishop into, he should play here. I mean, go away bishop, then A6, B5, maybe A6, then bishop A8. It is a good position for black. But this castle is better because though black position is little superior, it's fully playable for white. But instead of castle, white became more ambitious here. A bad move. Agreed that he cannot capture the pawn, but this is relieving the tension from the black center. Now, excellent move. Now white has a problem because he cannot support with B4. So this premature advance release the center. I mean pressure from center. Already black is better. Hello, Mehul Limbachia. So this is because of the C5 move, black already got a better game. It was better to castle here, but bad move. Excellent move. Now it is very likely the rook is trapped. So Karpov has calculated perfectly. he will give the exchange sacrifice for a pawn and a knight or a bishop, but then full control of center. Rook, attack. Now the rook is trapped, but the center is gone. Okay, the other moves are not good. For example, here BB5 is bad because check only move, and knight cannot come, that is bad. D4 pawn is falling. So here this DC5 is even very bad. This is bad. So only move here, queen C3. Here Karpov demonstrated that you cannot leave the center unprotected. White center is very weak, and bishop on A6 is also unprotected. The point is E5, crushing. No matter you capture any pawn, it is very bad. The center and the diagonal, this weak diagonal will be weak. No block square bishop. The center is weak, and the bishop is unprotected. So I don't think white will survive. If you look at the material is only slightly better. White is having rook for a minor piece and a pawn. That is slight better. That is not enough for so many bad things for white. So I told you pawn into pawn is bad. This is bad. D4. Forced. Knight into pawn. Bishop attack. Forced. You can't move the bishop. NB3 is coming. You can't go to BD3 or bishop C4, bad move. And I think it is very bad. The queen is already in the diagonal. Queen is already in the diagonal where you are going to castle. It's a disastrous position. There is a threat. Lost position. So you can't go DC5. And after the move, you cannot go even now castle. This is also bad. Knight into pawn, regaining, but then this is finished. Now bishop attack, knight attack, lost. So only move here is bishop D3. But then you take the pawn. So we have got one pawn. Now it is two pawn for the exchange. Check. Now knight E2 will lose quickly after the move D4 and knight coming to finish. The bishop is ready. The bishop is ready. The knight is ready. And this is a lost position. Lost position. For example, queen moves and now C4. And this finish. The game is over. Lost position. So you cannot play. You can't play knight E2. Only move. Now this is a game normally you do not see Karpov acting so vigorously. I would say Karpov, Petrosian, they will always play technically correct moves. But if you give them the position, they can attack also. Push, forced. There is no time because knight into bishop and bishop is coming quickly. There is no time. So his idea, now I can play knight into bishop. Forced. Activating the last piece. Now all black pieces are in fray. All the black pieces are in fray now. The only move. Idea discover check. He dare not take bishop into D3. You take and check is finishing. Or pawn push directly discover check is finishing. Check. Now it is a piece of cake. With 5 pieces and a very weak king, easy to find the combination, especially knight is hanging. Now this is unprotected. The king is unprotected. So it is very easy, but the demonstration is really fantastic. Check. Now you cannot exchange the rook. That is a deadly check is coming there also. Now rook into loses to queen into and force move to support the knight. G4 is not working. Forced. And now leading to mating attack. Checkmate. So here he cannot take the rook. So here only move. Trying to run away to G2, which he never gets. Now the point is, if you move king G2, rook into rook wins a piece. Rook into rook wins a piece. Bishop into knight, and you don't have fork. After rook into, now if you move the king, rook into, bishop into, and this fails to a knight check. Knight check and winning. Knight check and winning. So you cannot play bishop to coming there, only move. Knight attack, knight cannot move. According to going to a discover attack. Hello Amina, how are you? Greetings. Now only move. Check. It appears that white has defense by rook into knight. Not really, because this brings a tempo. The rook reaches the 7th rank, cutting off the king. Now rook reaches 7th rank. So not only attacking, the king is cut off. Forced. Otherwise the rook is lost anyway. Check, only move and finish. Because you are forced to take. Now queen f5 loses to queen. I mean, you have to block. There is no defense. You have to block. Now this is bad because of rook and check, and queen is lost. This is queen is lost. So you cannot play rook h1, and the only move is f4. No. Here the only move is f4, but then queen. I don't see, because now both the square you have to guard. This is lost. No answer. And so he played the maximum resistance. Grandmaster Joe Latier, French Grandmaster, gave the maximum resistance. He played pawn push, and after this he played. He defended. For example, rook into b2 and pawn rook here. Then only move, but then queen into and rook into bishop. Two advanced pawns. Now you have got two advanced pass pawns, and they are stronger than a rook because the king is far away. Rook into bishop with an easy win. Now this king is far away, check is of no use. So I wanted to show you, but basically what I mean, the science of winning chess is to make good opening moves so that you get a playable middle game. You do not have to get a winning position in opening. Just a good game, so all your pieces are well placed, your king is safe, your center is good, and there is coordination between your pieces and pawns. This is what I mean out of opening. If a player works on opening and he goes through the opening literature, he gets a good game this way. Or if a player has a very good understanding, he can also, without having knowledge also can do, but it will take lot of time. It will take lot of time when the clock is ticking. That is the reason you should study the opening, make a repertoire and get good position. And once opening is over, you have to make a plan. Who is better? Who is inferior? And accordingly, if your position is not good, you try to cover up the position, the weak points. And if its position is good, you try to take the initiative. And you have to be very careful about the transition period, opening to middle game to end game. Okay, so thank you very much, friends. Actually, most of the players were not there when I started the class, and I showed two interesting objects. I would say that I showed today. You can go to the beginning of the class, and I showed you how to win against this sort of position. I will go once more quickly. White to play and win. So you give a check, forced. Now the threat is simply transfer and mate. So the only move. Idea if you go now, rook has defense to guard this mate. So you make a waiting. The main idea is to decoy the rook to the third rank. So you wait. If he comes here, white's job is very easy. So he will come here. And now, hello Chess Kharagpur. And now you go to the other side. Now rook is forced. What you want, this rook must come to this point. Third rank. The reason the bishop is watching these squares and making the defense very difficult. So how do you provoke the rook? You bring the bishop. Now if you see, this is the only square. He is watching, all this is not possible. Not possible. Because if you go rook to fg7 or h7 mate, the only move. The king move does not work. The king move does not work because rook. Idea, I am giving a threat. I am giving a threat. So again you come. Now idea, I am giving a threat. You cannot come. You cannot come here now. Okay. And if you place this, I think this is finished. This is finished. Because the only move, because this is a mate and only move and this is a mate. So the king cannot come. Now here the king cannot come. The only move rook. Rook. But then if you rook move, what you should? This is the critical moment. This is the critical moment. So here you give bishop, and now there is a mate threat. So the answer is forced. There is no other move. Now bishop. Now the point is, again you have to come. There is no other way. This is mate. Rook check is a mate. And if you play here, now if you play here, this is winning easy. The bishop is watching the square. So this is finished. Now if rook was on first rank, you would have defended it. Now rook on third rank, you cannot come. The bishop is watching the square. So he cannot come. The only move is rook. But then, a critical moment, rook check is winning. Many players miss this move. They try to go rook here, they try to do this. Rook check spoils the coordination of black pieces. The only move rather, only move, because this will lose, now rook. This is not the correct move. This will lose rook. Now this is, if this move, rook check. It only move, but then rook here. Now only move rather, because there are two threats. This is threat number 1 and this is threat number 2 is there. So you have to stop the check and mate. Now the threat is bishop check and mate. Okay, this does not work because rook here wins. The defense, the square is not there. Bishop is watching this. That means you have to come here, only move. But then bishop to c4. It's all over. Now king here loses to bishop check, and then there is a mate, checkmate here now. And if king here also, direct mate. Direct mate. So I have already discussed the other side. Suppose it is lost, now it is lost. Here it is lost. And if the beginning, this position, even if you change the situation, it will maneuver, will say, oh okay, thank you very much friends being with me. So I will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. for the next session. Take care. Bye.